Some NBA players were wealthy when they were a kid, but other NBA players were living in the hood from the old days. These are the differences between NBA players in childhood. Pau Gasol. We will start off today's video with Pau Gasol. And let me tell you, this guy's got a story worth telling. First of all, let's talk about his basketball career. This dude has won all sorts of awards and accolades since he joined the NBA.
With the third pick in the 2001 draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Pau Gasol from FC Barcelona, Spain.
He won Rookie of the Year, he's been to 6 All-Star games, and he's even won 2 championships. That's pretty darn impressive if you ask me, especially considering he came all the way from Spain to make it happen. And speaking of Spain, let's talk about Pau's family. This isn't your average run-of-the-mill family, folks. His mom was a doctor, and his dad was a boss at a hospital. They even lived in fancy schmancy neighborhoods in Barcelona before they all decided to cross the pond and see what America had to offer. Now, some folks might say that Pau had it easy growing up with all these opportunities at his fingertips, but let me tell you, that's not necessarily a guarantee of success. Pau was lucky enough to grow up in a supportive family who encouraged him to pursue his passions. And boy did he ever! He played for top teams in Spain before eventually making his way to the US to play in the NBA. And the rest, as they say, is history. Carmelo Anthony. That was the story of Pau Gasol. He was in a wealthy family with care, but not every NBA player can be like Pau. In this case, which is Carmelo Anthony's birthplace is the Red Hook projects of Brooklyn. New York was a haven for crime and poverty during the late 1980s and early 1990s. The crack epidemic, which ravaged the area, was the least of his worries as he moved to Baltimore at the tender age of 8. The place he called home was infamously known as Murder Avenue, where drugs and violent homicides were everyday occurrences. It was far from an ideal environment for an aspiring basketball player like Anthony, who had to overcome these harsh realities every step of the way. Luckily, he managed to avoid succumbing to the darkness that loomed over his life. Through sheer determination and resilience, he persisted on his path toward success, attending the prestigious Oak Hill Academy and Syracuse University, before ascending to NBA stardom. Now wealthy beyond his wildest dreams, Anthony's achievements should not be overlooked, considering the bleak beginnings he had to overcome to get to where he is today. Klay Thompson. Did you know that Klay Thompson ain't just a splash brother, but he also got some NBA genes running in his blood? Yep, his pops, Michael Thompson, was a baller himself, and got picked first overall in the draft back in '78. Salary ain't what it is now, but they still had some ching coming in, you feel me? This dude grew up in the same Oregon hood as Kevin Love, who's also ballin' in the rich category, before his family moved to the bougie Orange County, Cali. Homeboy had a head start, but let's give credit where it's due. He's worked hard to become one of the best shooters in the league. Jimmy Butler. We have Jimmy Butler for the next one. Looked back to Klay and Pau's childhood. It's hard not to feel a heavy heart when talking about Jimmy Butler's journey. To start, his father abandoned his family when Butler was a baby. Growing up in a town as small as Tomball, it was difficult for him to find a sense of belonging. But his hardships didn't end there. At an age when most children are just starting to discover who they are, Jimmy was already being cast out by his own mother, leaving him to seek shelter with anyone who could take him in. He was lucky enough to find refuge with the Leslie family, who gave him the support and love that he deserved. Despite all the obstacles he faced, Jimmy never gave up on his dream of becoming a professional basketball player. And finally, his hard work paid off. He made it to Marquette and then to the NBA, where he now earns a salary of more than $15 million post-season. But as we look back on his story, it's impossible not to feel a deep sadness for all the challenges he had to overcome just to get to where he is today. Many NBA player living in the hood, holding guns back in the old days. Wait, it's not what you guys are thinking about. It's a real deal one. In this case, we have Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose. It should have been a homecoming for Derrick Rose when the Chicago Bulls selected him first overall in the 2008 NBA draft. Everyone had high expectations for him that he initially lived up to, winning Rookie of the Year in 2009 and MVP in 2011. But cruel fate intervened, and he began sustaining injuries, one after another. In the end, he was never able to recapture the magic that had propelled him to greatness. It's a sad twist for someone who had so much potential. And it's not like he had an easy road to the top either. He grew up in Englewood, a place with so much poverty that nearly half the residents were living in it. The area was also known for being one of the most dangerous places in all of Chicago. Thankfully, Rose had his older brothers to help him stay safe and keep him out of trouble so that he could pursue the sport he loved. In the end, Rose's story is one of a career that never lived up to its early promise, and a young man who had to struggle against tremendous odds just to even have a chance. It's a tragedy in every sense of the word. Kobe Bryant. Legends should be compared with legends. Looking back to Rose, Kobe Bryant's childhood was much smoother. Kobe Bryant made $328 million just playing basketball in the NBA. And that's not even counting all the money he made from endorsing every product under the sun. Talk about an unfair advantage. But here's the real kicker. Kobe grew up with basketball in his blood. His dad was an NBA player, and his uncle was a pro too. They even moved to Italy when Kobe was 6, so Pop could keep playing ball. Kobe must have had some seriously fancy footwork growing up, traveling back and forth between Italy and the US. Halfway through the videos, but if you guys stay here till now, we have something much more interesting for you guys. Fasten your seatbelt because we will make it to the next level. Steph Curry. For the next one, we got a story about Steph Curry. Not the kind that ruins your soup, but the one who's a basketball superstar. His dad used to be in the NBA too. Del Curry played for 16 years and was known for his epic shooting skills, which he thankfully passed on to his son. Despite growing up around millionaire NBA players and chilling in their locker rooms, Steph didn't let it get to his head. He stayed humble and down to earth. And now look at him, a top-notch player and all around a great guy. Oh, and did we mention he's made a cool $170 million just from playing basketball? But did you know that Steph's real name is Wardell, named after his pops? It's true. Del was already in the NBA when Steph was born, and we've all seen those sweet pics of little Steph hanging around the court and locker room with his dad. Sure, Del didn't make LeBron-level cash, but being a pro athlete's kid definitely has its perks. So hats off to the Curry family for turning out a superstar player and keeping it real. LeBron James. Talking about Steph, how can we not talk about his rivals? His relationship with LeBron is something different. LeBron James is the ultimate started from the bottom now we're here story. He went from being a kid from Akron with a mom who was only 16 and a dad who was an ex-con and not even in his life. Things were so rough that his mom couldn't even keep up a steady job, and they were constantly moving from place to place in the shadier areas of town. So LeBron got sent away to live with a coach's family in hopes of finding some stability. And guess what? It totally worked! Fast forward to now, and this guy is basically a superhero in the sports world. He's got stupid amounts of money. We're talking $172 million in NBA team salaries, and endorsements that make him one of the richest athletes in the world. Like, come on, man. Who knew all the kids from Akron would be balling out like this? Gary Payton II. I think we've got a real family affair here with Gary Payton II following his dad's footsteps to Oregon State. I mean, let's be real. Having the name Payton must have been like having an all-access VIP pass to the NCAA recruitment scene. And why wouldn't it be? The man's dad was a money-making machine in the NBA, raking in over $100 million in his career. Now, Payton II may not have blown up the court like his man did, but he even had to do a stint in the D-League after going undrafted in 2016. But hey, let's not knock the hustle. In April of 2017, the Milwaukee Bucks saw his potential and signed him to a multi-year deal. He even got in a few games at the end of the season. So, who knows? Maybe next year he'll go from a handful of games to a full-blown NBA player. Keep your eyes on the court, people. Giannis. With the Milwaukee Bucks, we had to end this list with one of the ultimate rags to riches stories, saying about Giannis. The Antetokounmpo family has an incredible story of overcoming many challenges to achieve success. Giannis Antetokounmpo grew up in poverty on the streets of Greece, after his parents immigrated from Nigeria. They struggled to find steady jobs because of their immigrant status, which meant they could not become Greek citizens. Giannis began selling watches, glasses, CDs, and DVDs on the streets at a young age to help his family make ends meet. Despite the difficulties, he never gave up and kept asking people until he could make a sale. The family lived in a small house with his brothers, and there was always a fear that they would be kicked out because they couldn't always pay the rent. Giannis's determination helped him overcome adversity and become an inspiration for others. If you liked the video, make sure to smash the like and subscribe button below and comment down below the topics that you want to hear about next. Until next time, peace out.